Hello and welcome. My question today, are you at a point where you question yourself, why am I so easily triggered and lose my calm? Hello, Sigurd Cast here. I'm a book writing, publishing, and marketing specialist. My marketing optimized book writing and publishing program is ideally suited for women in business who want to impact, empower, and inspire by sharing their vision and mission with a book. I regularly talk to exciting women in business, and today I have with me Carola Moon, certified life coach who works with ambitious, high-achieving, capable women who want more in life. Hello and welcome, Carola. How are you?
Hello, I'm well. Thank you for
coming to us from the other side of the country. How awesome is that we can kind of cross connect these days? It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes. It's evening for you and morning for me.
Yes, that's right. Different ends of the day as well. Well, I have so many questions, so let me get started. And I have my very first one. This topic is such a well expected. People have so many questions around that they just fixated on this trigger. Yes, it's not just family, it's at work, it's all over where people get triggered in the bus, in traffic, all over, isn't it? This trigger jumps up. So my first question, Carola, is what are emotional triggers and why do we have them?
Okay. Oh, you're going straight in for the big question.
Right into it. Let's hear it from the expert.
So emotional triggers, as how I define them, is when we get out of control, when something has us lose our cool because we just can't deal with whatever has been said or done around us, where we think it should be done differently. The reason why we have them are, I think, there are many reasons for that. So one is that it could be that it reminds you of something from childhood. It could be just something where you interpret the action in a certain way that triggers you to feel like disrespected or not taken care of, or it somehow clashes with your values. So yeah, I think it's those things.
Let's use an example maybe that might make it really clear for listeners to this. Do you have an example that comes to mind, or do you want me to throw something at you? What do you prefer?
Oh no, I can come up with an example. We're coming up to Christmas, so imagine you're at Christmas, and I actually just read an article about it. You're like, Christmas with the family, and your mother-in-law says something about the dish you've made, and it's not very flattering. She says like, yeah, that never tasted good. That could be a trigger.
So what does that make me think about when she says that never tasted good? Then I think, she doesn't value my input. She doesn't value what I've done here. She thinks I'm not good at preparing this dish or any dish. So all these things are jumping around there, and my response might be quite curt. And from there it goes, blow up after blow up. Is that what we experience quite often?
Yes. Also, our minds are quite good at interpreting things and projecting them forward. So your mind or my mind might not just think, oh my God, she doesn't think I'm good at cooking dishes, or this dish. You may then extrapolate it to dishes, or I may not be good for her son. Like I might not be generally accepted or be, of value because she doesn't see the value in me at all. And our minds are so quick to do that, we sometimes don't catch it.
Right. So that's really interesting what you've said there, because it comes down to a completely, not real situation in a way, isn't it? It's not real in that I'm creating something in my mind that is not necessarily what the other person means. It just reminds me when people want to write a book, as an example, I experience that when they tell me that, oh, but what if nobody likes it? What if I get bad reviews? They're kind of anticipating something that isn't even there yet, and you can't anticipate knowing what somebody may or may not say about your book. So completely unrealistic in a way, or you're just, it may or it may not happen. That's really what you're talking about, isn't it? It's not really there. So you work with this, talking now about Christmas, which is coming up. So we're focusing on that in particular. But in general, this happens to people at work as well. You as a life coach, do you experience that with people, with clients who come to you and want to know more about at work? Why does that happen? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, so we definitely, I definitely work with a lot of people where that happens at work, because our mind wants to keep us safe. So whatever someone else does, if it doesn't work for us. So for example, if I just had a client say that she's a teacher and she needed certain rooms for a certain after school clubs. And her boss was literally saying, I can't deal with this right now. This isn't working. And in the past, she would have slinked back out of the room and said, oh, what did I do wrong? He was so harsh. But actually, after having worked on her boundaries, on her worth and all of those things, she then could stand her ground and actually say, not make it mean too much negativity, too much about her personality. She then could go in and say, actually, no, let's get this sorted together, because it's in both our interests.
So is it important for us to know what our emotional triggers are? Should we explore what they are? Does that help take the power out of it when we come to one and we know, wait a minute, I know this is going to trigger me because, and does that help? Is that useful, or is it not really? Because sometimes with some mind things, it doesn't really matter whether you know what it is, you work on it in a different way. What's your approach here to this?
So I think I don't think it's helpful if you are literally just going out to say, oh, I've never been triggered in this situation. Let's see what triggers might come up. Yeah, so because I think that can pre-trigger us.
Yes, right.
But if there is a situation like Christmas and we fear what the mother-in-law might say, then I think it can be really helpful to get ourselves prepared and to shift our mind away from this blowing out of proportion and just seeing things for, okay, what is actually happening here? Is there anything I can take on board? Is there any truth in it? Just general preparing for the likely eventuality. And I think that can really be helpful, because we are often especially triggered when it seems to surprise us.
Yeah, right. So it sort of comes out of the blue, is what we say, isn't it? Comes out of where did this come from? And the big explosion happens. So it's not really that important to know what the trigger is, but they are related to stories that we're telling ourselves, I think is what I've heard you say at another time. Tell us a bit more about this. What are these stories and where do these triggers fit in? Storytelling in our mind.
That's actually beautiful that you said that, because we are actually never triggered when we are completely certain that this doesn't apply to us. Yeah. So I could say to you, I don't know how tall you are, but you're just too tall. If that's not true, then you would just not be triggered. It would just mean nothing to you. And you might say, okay, if you think that, I don't think I am too tall. However, we are triggered by things where we fear there might be a truth in it. So therefore, it's something to look out for, to look at the story that is behind that matches what the triggering action or mention has like enacted in ourselves.
So the mother-in-law who says that you don't do this dish well, or this dish never turns out well, or whatever she might be saying, if I have a story around that I just can't ever get it right, and I did my very best and it's still she doesn't, it's because I'm thinking, oh, she's probably right and I don't like it. That sort of is that the scenario we're talking about here?
Yeah, so there it could be a number of things. So it could be, oh, I never trusted my own cooking, or my mom used to say I'm not a good cook, or whatever it is. Or it could actually be the wider thing that I don't think I'm good enough, just generally. And so therefore the brain, I always think the brain is like a dog that has been like, it's ball obsessed. And the ball in this scenario is evidence for whatever we're thinking.
Right.
Yeah. So every time we think, am I good enough? Yeah. We're throwing our mind a ball to look for evidence that we are not good enough. Yeah. So if then the mother-in-law does say you're not, the dish is not nice, it could be evidence for the overall fear that you're not good enough, or I'm not good enough.
And I guess that directly related to this feeling, the storytelling, everything you've just shared, directly related to is that we are already anticipating things to happen in certain situation, whether that is at work or at family gatherings, in particular Christmas, where there's usually like everybody coming together in most families. And so this anticipation is already triggering some sort of fear, anxiety, whatever it is, isn't it, in a way? Do you have generally more inquiries, people wanting to work with you around this time of year?
Not generally. It's quite even throughout the year, because there's always something happening for people, and people are ready at different times to make a difference and to change their lives and move forward. However, it is this time of the year where these, like, I need to get like my relationship with my mother-in-law sorted. I need to improve my relationship with my own mother, or whatever it is. I don't want to be triggered as much. Those are the topics that is closer, like around Christmas, where the inquiries.
I'm asking because you have got an event planned for people to be able to attend next week. So I'd like you to tell us a bit more why you created that event and who should attend that event in particular. Give us a bit of detail on that, please.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, so I am running an event for free for next Wednesday, and it is all about untriggering your family Christmas, because it is so full of expectations and anticipation, but also dread for many. And it's all about becoming clear what might be happening behind the scenes, why we have been triggered in the past, what might be happening, because the mind is amazing at making up stories about what might be happening. And so it's all about like getting ourselves ready so that we can actually stay calm, stay grounded, have like certain tools and mind shifts at the ready, so that we're not being triggered on the day, or on the days when family is around.
Leading up, when everybody's starting to get together. You've mentioned a little earlier something about setting boundaries. Tell me what exactly that means. Does that have a universal meaning, or is it something that you have given a particular meaning in relation to the work that you do? Setting boundaries, what does that mean?
So for me, it means the actions you will take to keep you essentially sane. So it's never about what you expect someone else to do. So the mother-in-law can say whatever she wants to say, but what will you do as a reaction when she criticizes your meal? Will you be, deal with it in the seat? Will you just like excuse yourself and freshen up in the bathroom so that you get a breather? Will you just like find the next opportunity to go around the block, for a walk, so get some fresh air? It doesn't really matter, but it's about saying, okay, if this happens and if I feel triggered, what will I do? How can I take control back?
Right. And so the event that you are offering, that you are offering at no cost for people to take part in, will share some insights on a deeper level here, what you're sharing, but more in detail. And is it going to be also for people to be able to ask you questions specifically to a situation they might have? Is that something you offer on that event?
Yes, when I first thought of the event, I thought of running it as a webinar, so where I would mostly be talking. But since diving like really deep into this topic and preparing for the event, I will run it very much so that people can share their personal stories if they want to. And obviously everything that will be shared in the room will stay in the room. So it will be a safe space in that sense. But it's all about, for everyone to really get the value out of it. And it's not something like a blanket solution, like just do this and you're fixed. It is more about like making even micro shifts. It doesn't matter. Even if someone comes and feels 5% more in control of their emotions when they're being triggered, that is success.
So I sort of imagine I've got something in mind going to be Christmas, and I know there's going to be at least one person that will set me off quite easily with the type of things they say. If I come and attend your event, I could possibly learn a few little tips on how to overcome that. And even from what you're sharing, from examples or whatever you're sharing, and perhaps from hearing what other people might ask you, to get a really good idea for myself. And if that is not quite enough, then the time would be to actually see if you've got some time to work with me. Is that something that's possible, or is it too close with everything in wanting to get a spot working with you?
No, so I do have 3 spots available before Christmas. So it's definitely worth a conversation to see if I'm the right person to, help you or someone like you to move forward. And yeah, so it's, yeah.
Yeah. And generally, we're triggered no matter where we are. Like I said earlier, it is quite easy sometimes that we can be triggered. You're in public transport, somebody comes and sits too close to you and they have, you want to just not be that close to them. You could learn with your help, for example, not to react in the way you react. The reason you act in that way, and then I'm just summarizing a bit of what you have shared with us so far. So the reason we're reacting in that way is already because it reminds us of something, or we're anticipating something that's not necessarily really there right now, but it's this making up a story, thinking about something else, and we kind of come up with some sort of a reaction at that point in time. But there are ways and means that we can, and I think you called it set boundaries for ourselves and take a different type of action. Have I summarized that correctly so far? And please add to that.
Yes, beautifully. So it's about creating these mind shifts so that we're not reacting on autopilot, but to actually choose an intentional action that comes from, I don't want to have exactly that same result as I had before. I want something different. Let's try something, or let's do something different. and to feel more back in control. Yeah.
So in a way, really, we can take the lead in such a situation and perhaps not even get ourselves to that moment where this trigger wants to pop up for it. Is that possible, or does the trigger come up and then we have to make sure, hang on a minute, this is what I have to do? Can I prevent it?
So it's a little bit like learning to ride a bike. So at first you will be like wobbly, you will probably fall quite a bit and have to climb back onto the bike. But eventually it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing here. Yeah. And you will still notice it, like when you're on a bike and you feel like, oh, I'm a little bit too, you know, I'm about to fall, but you know what to do to move yourself back. And sometimes you still fall. And that is also okay. But it's then you know how to ride your bike and you can climb back onto, you know, saying, okay, okay, I fell.
So from the event that you are offering for people to take part in next week, it is possible to take away enough to work a little bit at least on untriggering ourselves. And we would then be situated well to perhaps test ourselves. Is that a good idea or not really? Because you said earlier, don't go into a situation on purpose or, you know, think about it necessarily.
Yes or no? If you know you are likely to be triggered or you have been triggered in the past, then I think it's very good to say, actually, now I've got new mindset, new tools, new ideas. Let's try this out this Christmas. And it's actually to use a gamification method, or like, you know, to gamify the whole event is actually a really nice way to do that, by saying, I wonder if I can get extra points for not reacting.
Oh, I like that, extra points. So I could set myself up with something that I promise myself to give myself if I don't react. I love that. That's a really great tip. Thank you, Carola. That's great. So tips like that and more will be coming at the event you've got next week. So give us a bit of detail on what this time, date, how you can sign up for the event.
Okay, so the event is happening on Wednesday 6th at 12 noon UK time, so GMT. Do not quite know how that relates to other time zones. And it is, there is a replay. So if you can't make that time, you can always go to the replay and sign up so that you get notified and sent the replay. And the sign up is at www.thecarolamoon, so THE carolamoon.com/untrigger.
Lovely. We'll put the link with the video so that people can easily click on that and get through there. And it makes it really easy. The time is going to be Australia, where I am in Brisbane, Queensland, 10 p.m. on that day. So we're ahead of you. But other people can, of course, check that out on one of the time scheduling tools that are out there. So let me recap on what we have shared, or what you have shared here, what we've talked about today. We have talked about, in particular, triggers. Are you set up, or set off, I should say, by emotional triggers? Like, you know, are you at a point where you're thinking, why am I so easily triggered? And seeing that we are going into the season of Christmas, where we do have so many family gatherings, and it is really easy with family to be triggered. Untrigger Your Family for Christmas is an event that Carola has coming up on Wednesday, the 6th of December. The event is available. We'll put the link with the video as soon as we're finished here. And you can ask questions and get more insights from Carola directly to help yourself set boundaries, certain boundaries, and not be triggered by that auntie or that mother-in-law or whoever it is who triggers you. What are your parting words for us with this session today, Carola?
I think it's just fitting to reaffirm you do not have to suffer through Christmas and pre-suffer ahead of time that you worry about being triggered. You can do something about it.
No,
come along.
No need to be triggered. Come along and work out or listen to what Carola has to say to help you feel untriggered, or at least ready for Christmas. That's it from us for today. Thank you, our guest, Carola Moon, for the insight she's given us. Thank you. And signing off from this particular session, Sigrid de Cast, book writing, publishing, and marketing specialist.